Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL for 5% off your order. We're also sponsored by Quiver Time, makers of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine card-holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their site for 10% off your purchase. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them for all your deck list needs. Now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Architect, and Quiver. Today, I have a very cool and very special guest, my friend Zac Pauga, who is an MMA fighter, which is not something I ever thought I would say would be like somebody I'm hanging out with. But it's hella cool because we met playing tabletop jocks at Joe Johnson's stream. And I was like, dude, this guy could break my face with his fist. It's crazy. But it turns out you're just another magic scrub like me, which is really rad. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thrilled because it's always super cool to me to see like magic players in all the weird stripes of life that we do. It's like magic players are all over the place doing everything, but you don't expect jocks to be like flinging cards around, right?
Yeah, but we're out there. We're definitely out there.
I mean, we were hanging out at King Cash's store, for God's sakes, and he's a football player, which is also not where you expect nerds to hang out.
I know. I was hoping to get a game with him so we could have some real tabletop jocks going on. But...
Yeah, I know, right? Like, you guys should do like chess boxing or something. You play your turn and then just go take a slug. But I feel like he could take your punch, but I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to keep them separate. Someone else tagged me on Twitter. Might have even been you with the
oh yeah, like the
magic chess boxing. And I'm like, of course everyone's tagging me in it. And I'm like, guys, I want to keep magic very separate from fighting.
Well, yeah, because like you're a trained fighter, so if you're going to punch someone, you're going to punch them, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not just going to hold back. It's going to go through and they're going to be watermelon shards. But I was curious, when did you find magic? How did you find magic?
So I went through a few phases of magic. I grew up in the 90s and I played early, but like nothing
hella casual.
Yeah, like literally we didn't even know that you could mix colors in a deck. Like we're 7 years old at the time. My parents wouldn't let me play with black cards. Like cuz I could only play red or white cards or blue cards cuz those were the like
the ones with the pentagrams on them.
Yeah, exactly. So that was just my like friend group growing up was very
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Colorado, in Lakewood, Colorado. And like I said, I just had a friend group that was very into that stuff. When we were growing up during when the Yu-Gi-Oh show was airing, where we were catching new episodes. So we were super into TCGs, and, you know, there was no internet forums at that time. So we didn't know what was good or what was bad. And we were just literally playing for the fun of it.
Cards I have the deck, right?
Exactly. And like, I just missed whatever that phase in your life is where you just decide that those things aren't cool anymore. I just never went through that.
Yeah, you never got to the part. It's weird because like in my life, I also started playing in the 90s, like 94, 95, whatever, in middle school, high school. And like there was a point where I'm like, all right, well, all my friends are done playing Magic, so I'm going to stop playing Magic again. And I didn't come back for like a long time. Like I kept reading the website and looking at the cards and stuff, but I was like, I'll play other games and stuff. Magic is old and dead. And then like Innistrad, and I'm like, oh, well, I should get back into this because this is awesome. I think it was the Xbox game, the Duels of the Planeswalker and the Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
But you just kept playing Magic more or less on and off the whole time?
So I had this good core group of friends that we played together. And that was basically it. We played Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic all the way through. And I went to college and just happened in Fort Collins, Colorado. I went to CSU. Happened to have a great local gaming store that I just got into the more like competitive side of
Mm.
Magic, like standard release nights, and was an adult and could actually afford cards and
Turns out that makes a huge difference.
yeah. And so yeah, me and then graduated college, and that's kind of when I kind of just stopped. I just had no one to play with anymore. And then
Mm.
3 or 4 years ago, one of my buddy from my original play group hit all of us up in a group text message and was like, "There's this thing called Commander. E- everyone does it. We can all play at the same time. We're got like just dig all your cards out. I know you guys all still have them. Dig them out, and we're all going to start playing again." And that's literally how I got into Commander and saw that it's huge now. It's
Right?
massive.
Isn't it wild that Commander is bigger now than like the entirety of Magic was when we were kids?
Yeah,
Like it's a global phenomenon. It's nuts to me. Like, because when I was a kid, we would be like in high school, there'd be 12 of us sitting in a circle just playing big melees because what the hell, we don't know any better, right? And now it's just like, I was at Magic Con Philly last week, and there's like 8,000 people playing Commander. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? How is this
yeah.
happening?
So I had like heard of it, right? Like judges play Commander
Sure.
after the tournaments, and I just thought it was some weird niche thing. And then yeah, like I said, my buddy's just like, no, this is the game now.
Yes.
Everyone plays this all the time. Nobody plays standard anymore unless you're on arena. Like it's everyone's
Hmm,
playing
hmm.
Commander.
So, who was your first commander? Do you remember?
Oh, I do. Perforos, God of the Forge. That was my first commander. That's my like card is special and near and dear to me in
And
my
going
heart.
back to the time when you can't mix colors, so you're
Yeah,
playing
mono
mono
red.
red.
I love monocolored decks. I love monocolored decks, but Perforos is just requires almost no thinking. It's like I'm gonna play my creatures. You're all gonna take two every single time, and
And you match him up with his buddies, Impact Tremors, and like all those other
oh
things.
yeah,
Like, I drop a creature, oh, you take 38 damage. Let's
yeah.
go.
There's zero politicking. No one wants. I can't make deals with anybody. I'm hitting all of you every single turn.
Look, the game is going to end now or later.
Yeah.
It's your choice how that happens. Because when we got to play at Tabletop Jocks, you also had this the what the hell was that deck you were playing? The Mardu one where you did
Oh
bounties on
yeah.
people.
Kelsian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first deck that I actually built. Like my Perforos deck was literally just
All the red cards. Yeah.
I have a Perforos. I have a bunch of goblins. Here we go. And that was Kelsian was my first deck that I was like, okay, I'm going to try and put some synergies. I'm going to try and use some actual tutors, like get specific cards.
Tutors.
So, yeah. But yeah, so that's those are my two favorite commanders, Perforos and Kelsian.
Yeah, you were the first person I saw actually using Kelsian as a deck, and like I remember when I saw that, I was like, I don't even know this card because that
Yeah.
was that dude's from Ikoria, right?
Ikoria, but he wasn't in the set. He was
He's
in
like one of the
the like
third commander in the deck or something.
exactly, yeah. And he was the thing is, and there's so many commanders that get released now. Everyone looked at him. They saw the ping ability. People tried like Death Touch Tribal or Pinger Tribal, and everyone just kind of moved on. And what he
Let me
really
let me
is,
let me read the card for the kids at home who
okay,
are not on video. Kelsian the Plague, which was like in the commander precon for the Mardu, it costs red, white, black, and for a 2/2 human assassin with vigilance and haste. And that's important because Kelsian the Plague gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. But you get experience counters because it's got an ability that says tap. Kelsian deals a damage to target creature you don't control. When that creature dies this turn, you get an experience counter. So basically, you ping things, they die, you get experience counters, Calcium becomes bigger, and then you slam in. And you were doing nasty things with this card, man. Like you had that stupid land that was giving everybody else spirits, and you're like,
yeah.
"Oh, I give you a spirit. I kill the spirit. Oh, look, Calcium got bigger." And I'm like, "God damn it, we're screwed."
Well, so and that specific game, I didn't need to do anything but just smash everyone with Calcium. But his real strength comes from generating the experience counters.
Mm,
He generates it easier and can like share it better than if you were using the like Marin, right? She can make them pretty
Sure.
easy, but there's no other really Golgari cars that want experience counters. There's a bunch of good Mardu experience cars, and there was actually a brand new one that just came out. And Kelsian can farm the experience counters way better
Huh.
than anyone else.
That didn't even occur to me that you could go back and use the old like experience counter dudes. Because when you think of experience counters, the only things I think of are like Marin or Azuri, and
Yeah,
I forgot that there's like the other two are there still. Like there's the red white one, Kalemni, right? Like the giant
yep,
chick.
yep. Glemney just gets huge and has double strike, and then
Sure.
there's Daxos who makes spirits the size of your experience counters,
Oh, that's good.
and then there's Minthara who gives everyone plus one for each
God,
experience
I've
counter
gotten
you have.
slugged by Minthara so badly.
Yeah,
That card is a house. Wow,
yeah,
that's a really cool idea. Like doubling down on experience counters and actually getting multiple use out of this is really, really clever. Uh, I don't know. That deck was really cool. It crushed me, so I don't love it, but it was cool.
yeah. That's by far my favorite deck. It can never. It's so like I said that a new experience counter card just came out in the new precon, the new
Mm.
Boros precon, but it's like the deck is so tight that I have no idea what I'm going to take out to put
Isn't
that.
that the
Uh,
worst feeling when you're like, "This card is perfect for my deck." Okay, what are you going to cut? Nothing.
yeah, exactly. A land. That's
Oh,
always the answer. Yeah,
I've got 12 lands left. I can't cut
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
Yeah, dude, 'cause that happened to me, like, I was at Philly and I'm looking at, like, these cards for my decks. I'm like, "Oh my god, this would be the most amazing card for my, like, soldier deck." Oh, my soldiers deck is, like, Loctite. And
yeah,
at this point, I'm just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna build another deck. I can't deal with like trying to carve like you're getting down to just slicing the last little pieces out of a deck, and it's like, forget it. Just call it good and
yeah.
walk away. Um,
That's
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that's probably how you have to do it. But yeah, right
Yeah.
now I can only have one experience counter deck. I can't have multiple experience counter decks.
Yeah, that's fair. But like I got to that in my zombies deck, right? Like they put out the zombie precon and it had a ton of really good zombie cards, but my zombies deck is already like perfect. And it's just like if I add anything to it, then I have to take pet cards out now. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have two zombie decks because this is not gonna work anymore. It's the worst. It's everybody comes to me though, and they're like, "Why can't you just get rid of the 100 card limit on Commander?" I'm like, "Because most people's hands are very small, dude. If you
Yeah,
try to shuffle more than 100 cards, they're going everywhere."
and it's
Um,
yeah being a casual format. It's good to have restrictions because without restrictions, without the having to match your commander's color identity, all those things, it just gets crazy. It just
yeah,
gets
we're just
too
gonna have a
much.
pile of 400 cards that are just
Yeah,
rainbow, and you're like, it's gonna be like being 12 again, except the wrong side
yeah,
appears. Like, look, it's every card I own in a pile. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's not cute anymore when you're 30.
All right, so I'm curious though. So that's the path that took you to Magic. How did you get to become a fighter? Like it's very hard to become a professional fighter.
Mm.
Like there's a lot of people who will try that thing, but they get cut or they get like bounced out. To actually make it to like the UFC or something is hardcore, dude.
Yeah, so I'm just, you know, I have a different story than most fighters. I didn't start as a fighter or a wrestler or anything like that.
Obviously,
I
you were
was,
playing Magic cards.
yeah, I was playing Magic, but I was a naturally athletic kid. I grew up athletic and I played football like most American boys do. And uh, had success. I played college football.
Oh,
I played in
really?
the, yeah, played in the NFL for a season. And
What?
yeah, so the big mistake people always try and link me and Cassius because of the NFL connection. I want to make it super clear. Cassius is like a 10-year vet and one of the most literally athletic human beings on the planet. I played for one season and got cut. Me
Oh,
and Cassius are nowhere near the same level of being an NFL player, but I did play for a season and got cut by the Houston Texans. But yeah, so that was just
yeah,
I
but
was
that's still cool, man. Like
yeah,
getting to. Okay, I do. I want to stick to that for 1 second because not.
yeah.
I don't get to talk to a lot of people who actually get to walk out onto a football field. Was that like hella cool when you go out there and you could see the crowds and hear everything, and it's in a real NFL stadium?
It was awesome. I didn't appreciate it at the time because I was just
a kid out of
Ye-
college, right? So,
I was a kid. I was one playing in college, right?
mm.
In playing Division One college, you play in 90,000
Oh yeah,
person
okay. D1
stadiums.
football is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, but you're like, I'm 20 years old and I don't appreciate any of it at the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I know. Get out of my way, you know. Like so, but yeah, but it comes to an end. It's a hard business. It's a hard league
Yeah.
to stay in. Um,
The teams are very small. There's not that many people who can play, and there's a
you
lot of
only,
people who wanna play.
you yeah, you only have 50. There's 52 man rosters. There's only
Yeah,
52 people on each football team, and every year there's a brand new crop of young, hungry 22-year-olds coming out of college that
right?
want to take your spot.
Yeah, who have, like, ankles that haven't broken or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm screwed."
Yeah,
Um, God, that but it's still though, playing in the football in the big leagues is like a real that's hardcore, man. You got drafted, at least you got onto a team. That's awesome. I mean,
yeah, it was great, and yeah,
like, you can
and
look
like I
back
said,
now and be like, "Look, man, I was in the NFL. That's rad."
yeah. So yeah, and that's I got cut, and that's not where the story ends. Like
Yeah,
I have a wild athletic journey.
I need to know.
Um, so yeah, my dad was a Samoan immigrant. I'm first generation American, so I grew up playing watching rugby. That's the like team sport that my
Yeah,
dad likes to watch. So I get cut from football. I bounce around. I can't get in anywhere. I don't know
mm,
what I'm doing. So my agent hits me up about rugby, and I go play professional rugby. I represent the United States, the USA Eagles.
I didn't know
And I
the
play.
US had an official rugby team.
Yeah, they're not very good, but it exists.
Get your ass
I'm just
in New
kidding.
Zealand
I'm
every year,
just
man.
kidding. Yeah, they played New Zealand twice, and we get smashed all the time. But we
Look,
do have
man,
a
if
team.
you don't have a team full of Polynesians, you're not gonna win
Yeah,
rugby. That's just not gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's I. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about that, like, first off, there is this big problem that, like, kids who come out of college who are sports, like, oriented, go through D1 football or basketball or whatever, make it into the big leagues and then, like, get cut after a year or 2, they're lost, right? Like, they don't
Yeah,
have a direction, and they didn't get, like, their full schooling or whatever, and we don't have a whole support system on, like, how do you live your life now that you're not a professional athlete
exactly.
anymore? What was that like?
Well,
Did you have,
not
like how did you deal with that?
so it's hard, and I have like I'm a horrible employee. Like I can't do whatever meaningless task exists. The amount of money you could pay me is irrelevant. I can't do it. I can't just do things that I don't want to do that don't interest me, and it's a curse. It's a curse. I wish that I could,
Yeah.
you know, but
That
it
makes
was
it hard
hard.
to yeah, that makes it hard to get a 9 to 5, man, if you can't just
Yeah,
do some mundane stuff. So, you went from the NFL and then you went to rugby? And
yeah.
how long
I
did you do
go I
that?
go. So I played rugby for about 5 years. Um, and then I had a family. I got
Mm,
married and had my daughter, and uh, rugby in America just doesn't pay great. I just
I can't
didn't.
imagine.
I just uh, didn't pay great money. Didn't not enough to make a family. So I walk away from athletics. I walk away from sports. I become a cop. I just
I mean,
just
you have to
because
do something, right?
well, literally, like I'm telling you, I could not do an office job. I tried. I tried to go work at like a call center, and I
Oh,
was there
geez.
for a day, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm not doing. I don't even give it 2 weeks notice. I just walk out and I don't come back. Like I can't.
Yeah, that's a rough one for a lot of people, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I go become a cop, and I just think I'm done with sports. Like
Sure,
I tried. I played in the NFL,
you got
played
it.
international rugby. I made it far, and I just liked MMA. I liked watching the sport of MMA and wanted to keep exercising.
Hmm.
So as a cop, I figured, it'd be good to actually know how to fight, do this stuff. So I just sign up for the nearest gym to my house. The closest gym to my house happens to be where Elevation Fight Team trains at, and they have the number 3 heavyweight in the world
Oh,
training there. And they don't know who I am. They don't obviously
yeah, like
most people don't know, the third string fullback for the Houston Texans from 5 years ago.
yeah, right. Well,
But
I
they
mean
just see Yeah. They just see a big guy that can move, that's
Yeah,
not falling over himself. And they asked me like, hey, can you come train with us? We just need big bodies. And I'm like, sure. Like,
yeah. Why not? It benefits you, right? Like keeps you in shape
yeah.
and lets you just keep moving. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
exactly. And like, so I show up, I have no background. I have no background. They asked me like, what's your background? I was like, I don't have any. They're like, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, a month. And they're like, they're all shocked. They're like, what? And you're gonna come in here? What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. You asked me.
Yeah, but you say
So
that, but you were a professional athlete for like 10 years or
so
something,
yeah.
man. Like,
So yeah, I'm athletic. I am.
yeah,
I'm not gonna pretend that I'm
you know
not
how to
like
fall at least.
a big strong. I'm a big strong guy. Like
Y- yes.
that's true. But so I get beat up. I get beat up, but I do like pretty good for a guy that's been doing this for a month. And they all the coaches are just like, listen, man, that was the number 3 heavyweight in the world that
Jeez.
you just trained with. So why don't you try this? And the big thing is that I loved it. I
Right.
I I felt a connection and I felt a desire to do it that I didn't feel with rugby. I didn't even feel with football. I just really loved doing it and I wanted to do it for free. I didn't care about making money. I was like, I will
Don't
come
ever
here
tell
every
somebody
day.
that, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, I'll come here every day. I will be here every single day and we'll just see where it goes. And that was, 4 years ago.
Wow,
I
that's
I
it.
yeah. Yep. So I trained for a year, then to started amateur fights.
Mm,
Then I would turn pro 2 years ago. Went undefeated, and then
damn.
hadn't got called to go on the UFC's reality show. So I did the Ultimate Fighter reality TV show. Made it to the finals for that, and then now I'm in the UFC.
That's
Just
hella cool, man.
living the dream. Living the dream. Walked away from being a cop. Quit being a cop.
Well,
Thankfully.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine that, like, you walk into a gym and a dude's like, "Hey, come over here so I can punch you in the face a lot." And I don't know that I would necessarily say yes to that. Um,
Yeah. It's a weird thing that my wife tells me is not normal. That like I want to go fight people, or when I see someone, I'm like, I bet I could beat him up. Like
oh
I'm
my
sure
god.
everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks that, or lots of guys think that. But I'm
You actually
actually
could.
thinking about
I've
it.
seen your arms. You could break somebody's face. Yeah, sure. Um, and, like, I'll be honest, like, when I was sitting there at Joe's thing and he was telling me who we were playing against, I'm like, "I don't know who these people are," right? And then you walk in or, like, your brother walked in or whatever, I'm like, "These guys are huge. These guys are huge and terrifying." I'm a very thin brown man. You're gonna
Yeah,
break me in half. I don't know what to do. But it was just like, "You're so kind," and I was like, "Oh, this
yeah.
is so pleasant." But also your fists are goddamn the size of coconuts, man. Like,
So
um,
I get that everywhere I go. Like every local game shop I go into, and everywhere I go, it's like it's almost annoying. I'm just like, guys, just
I'm
want to
just
play Magic. I just want to play cards. Like I'm not gonna fight any of you. I promise.
right, like, "Look, we're gonna keep it on the table. It's fine." Like, um, the only fights we play are 1 in green, so chill out. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, so what is that like though? Like when you're in the ring and when you're like when I was in high school and stuff, I did wrestling and stuff, so I know what it feels like to be thrown around. But that's not the same as having somebody who's like a trained professional fighter just coming and just because like UFC stuff, it feels like you guys wear a lot less padding than I would hope
Oh
you would
yeah.
wear, and you're just
We wear
getting
4 ounce gloves. That's
yeah,
it. 4 ounce gloves.
like their fists are coming real close to your chin, and like d- I'm gonna ask the dumbest
So
question in the world: does that hurt?
so for me at least, and I can only speak from my experience, is it's an addicting feeling because when you're in there, you don't feel anything. You
Mm.
don't you don't you don't feel anything. And if you do feel something, I've broken a few bones in fights. If you do feel something, you know it's a serious problem.
Because
Like
it's cut through all the adrenaline, and you're just like, "Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that
I've
feels
bro-
bad."
I've broken my hand in the middle of a fight and like yeah, felt the sharp
Oh,
break and
shit.
just going, well, that's going to be a problem later. Like we'll deal
Oh,
with that in 20 minutes because we got
oh,
something to do right now.
Oh my god, I don't know that I would be able to, stop myself from crying in the middle of it. But I know
Yeah,
what it's like, when you get, like, that adrenaline rush, you can do basically anything, and then a few minutes later, you're like, "Oh, that
yeah.
hurts a lot now."
It's people they like people use the term adrenaline junkie for oh, the guy likes to do exciting things. When you get real, like controlled adrenaline release, you feel like Superman. It is addicting. It is an
Yeah.
addicting feeling.
I can imagine. I mean, and especially when you've got that rush of, like, you can see that you're actually winning or you're, like, getting the guy, then you're like, "Oh, let's go." And you pump yourself up
Yeah,
and you feel super good about it. That must be cool. And especially since
yeah.
you're in an environment where there's a lot of safety around, there's a lot of people paying attention,
Mhm.
so you can just take it out on them and know it's okay, right? Like, the guy expects you to start slugging him, so it's fine.
Right. It's modern day, gladiator coliseums,
Yeah.
and I'm
The
on
octagon bit is a
TV.
little weird, though.
Yeah, it's I don't know why we still fight with a fence in
Yeah, the
there.
fence is
Like
annoying. How do I see through the
it's
fence?
hard to it's hard to see through. You're not allowed to grab it, but it's still there, and you
Yeah.
naturally want to grab it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not really down with the fence, but it's just part of
Tradition.
our sport. Yeah,
Yeah, like, you guys don't get to climb the fence and jump off it like Vega or anything like
yeah,
that. It's just there
yeah,
in the way, and, like, at first I thought it's like, "Oh, it's like WWF where you're just gonna grab it and start just hitting people with chairs or whatever." No, it's just literally a cage just to make
yeah.
it hard to see.
Just
Um,
to make it look scary. Yeah.
yeah. What kind of fighter are you? What do you like what sort of fighting do you do? Like, I know
So
MMA
I'm
is, like, mixed martial arts for the people at home like me who don't know.
I'm a true mixed martial artist. I started, so like I said, I have no background.
Mm,
I started doing everything. I started with the sport of MMA, and
mm,
for me at least, the way I see things, I believe that's the purest form of a fight. I
mm,
think that's how it all started. Like ancient Greek pancration was the
yeah,
first Olympic sport, and then we broke it up. Then the boxers just wanted to box, the wrestlers just wanted to wrestle.
right.
So I am just, people will call it well rounded, but
Mhm.
I am just an MMA fighter. I'm looking to do all things at all times.
So you could do, like, the punches and the kicks and the grapples, just all of it at the same time pretty easily, seamlessly, I guess?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm looking to go where my opponent is not good.
Mm,
My most recent opponent, people considered me a striker leading up to this because I mostly was trying to knock people out and being a big heavy striker, but that's just because I was fighting wrestlers.
mm,
My most recent opponent was a big time kickboxer, and
mm,
I grappled him against the cage the entire fight, and everyone was all shocked. And
yeah.
I'm saying all I'm trying to do is what my opponent's bad at. I'm not going to
So
try
you're
and
playing the
test
metagame,
what they're good at.
basically.
Exactly, exactly.
It's like that's the thing I think because I've watched a lot of K1 and MMA over the years with a bunch of friends of mine, and when I watch it, what I realize is that it really does feel like magic, like Magic tournaments where it's like, "Okay, well, everybody else is doing this one thing. I've got the deck that's gonna beat them." Like, I'm a kickboxer, everybody else is trying to grab me, I'm gonna punch him in the nuts a lot, or whatever. Punch him in the nuts with a kickboxer. No, of course not. I'm gonna knee him in the nuts a lot. But, it's still though, it's really interesting to watch, like because the conceit of it being like we're different styles of fighters and fighting is really cool. It's really neat to see, like
Mhm.
because like when you grapple a boxer, they're just kind of stuck. They're like, can't reach. I'm punching past your face, and I don't know how to do that now that you're hugging me. Um, it's really fun to watch them. But now I guess MMA's been around for so long that it feels like a lot of those original like imbalances are kind of like everybody knows how to deal with when you get grappled or when you're in a boxing situation or whatever, right? Like you guys aren't just like
Yeah.
one side. People aren't just like monocultural anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
So the good guys are like the good guy. Everyone is pretty well rounded now, or
Mm,
at least the key is learning the defenses
right.
and then having the offense that you prefer. So you can be just a boxer as long as you know how to defend wrestling, as long as
Right.
you know how to defend jujitsu, and then you can keep it on the feet and just box. But there are still guys, especially when it comes to grappling, there's still guys that just really primarily focus on one aspect of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like once you get into the grapple and then you start getting on the ground and stuff, all the rest of it doesn't matter anymore. Cause now you're just
Yeah.
pinned and you're trying to throw this idiot off of you before he just slams you down. And I don't know, watching grappling sometimes gets a little boring because it's just like there's a lot of stuff happening, but we can't see
Mhm.
it. And it's very
Yeah.
subtle. and it doesn't look like anything is happening until the guy flips over, and then you're like, "Yay, it's like a crab on the ground."
Yeah,
Um,
well, because grappling by definition is neutralization, right?
right.
You're neutralizing them. You know, if to pull it back to Magic, you're playing a stacks deck, right? You're not letting them do what they want to do, and that's
Yes.
boring to watch, right? Stacks is boring to
Yes.
play against.
That is exactly that is the best explanation I've ever heard, and I'm going to use that, like, all the time now. Holy crap. Yeah, I apologize at home audience. I'm not a, like, fighter wrestler type. I understand it. I'm very good at Street Fighter games, but this is not Street Fighter. He's not throwing Hadoukens, so I apologize if my vocabulary is a little weird. But I'm just, like, fascinated by it because it's so cool. It's fun to watch this stuff. And, like, I especially just I like watching kickboxers a lot. I like watching
Mhm.
people who are, like, really flexible and do, like, all like, if you've ever seen a really good Muay Thai kickboxer using their
Oh yeah,
elbows and knees, like, just impossible ways to, like, crack your skull, and it's like, "Holy crap, this is crazy." Um,
yeah. I think everybody. I'm a big believer in like your like ancestry and where you came from, and I think everybody has a deep rooted interest in fighting because
mm,
that was the first thing. The first thing was us saying, whatever that guy's got over there, I want it, and he's not going to let me have it, and we're going to have to fight over it.
yeah, it's like, "Alright, I'm gonna hit Thog with this brick here, and we're gonna
Yeah.
go to town." Yeah, because like, it's wild. In India, we have a lot of, like, wrestling and a lot of kind of, like,
Hmm.
proto martial arts, and it was more weapons-based stuff, but then you're right, like, every culture's got some way of going and grappling and throwing down and wrestling with each other, and it's really cool to see, like, there was a I'm not gonna bother with these tangents of, like, going back and talk about Indian wrestlers from the 1800s or whatever,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
b but bringing it back to Magic, though, I feel like there's a lot of that same kind of, like, mentality in there of, like, your deck type, your fighting style, you just need to know how to defend against everybody else and then bring whatever way you're playing in to actually win with, as long as you make sure you've got cards to handle this stacks players and stuff. So,
Yeah.
do you prefer playing more casual, Commander, or do you prefer more, like, competitive cutthroaty type stuff?
So for me specifically, it's all casual, pretty much. I have a CDH deck just for if when we want to play around with that. But my life is competition.
Right.
Every single day for me is like getting up and grinding and eking out any type of advantage that I can.
Mm.
When I'm playing with cardboard, I want to chill. I want to
Right.
talk to my buddies. I want to BS. I want to see crazy stuff happen. I'm not like trying to look at lines and I'm like, oh, like four cards in hand, two open mana. Like I'm just chilling. Like so I'm me and my friends when we play we call it finite magic. Like
Mm,
we don't play with infinites. We
mm,
usually don't play with tutors, but other than that, it's open game. So
mm,
it's like relatively high power, but
sure.
it's not a situation where it's like you can't tap out or else the game's going to be over.
Right. Like, when you're playing against Cassius, you have to be on your toes all the time because
Yeah.
he's going to just thug you, and it's gonna be like, everything is a competition with that guy. But, like, it's funny because the way you described the way you like to play is exactly why judges created Commander in the first place. They spent all day at the
Mm.
tournament studying lines and watching very focused high-end tournament play. When they go and wanna play cards themselves, they just wanna throw down 8 drops and just chill, right? Like, "Here's a doofy card that doesn't do anything in tournament play. Let me just calm down and play with my buddies and have a good time." And now everybody's trying to make Commander competitive again, and it's like, well, where are we gonna go to just play
Yeah.
fun time Commander? It's weird, it's fun. Um, that's really interesting though, because you're right, like, your whole job is to just train all day and be, like, ready to start fighting people on Saturday. So, of course, when you wanna relax, you're gonna be like, "I just wanna put, like,
Yeah.
Simian Spirit Guide in play and just shut up and swing at you."
Yeah. Commander is an escape for me.
Mm.
It's not. I have plenty of time winning and beating people at other stuff. It's a it's a relax for me. I don't. I said it in our game. I have no interest in winning any commander game. I just want to draw cards and slam fatties. That's all I really care about.
I feel like that's really the core essence of Magic right there. It's like, I just want to draw cards and play cool big things. Leave
Yeah.
me alone. It'll be fine. We'll swing at each other. No big deal. But man, that Zangief deck that Joe had was just nutty. Like, I want to go and build that because I've been watching that video that we did again because it
Uh-huh.
was just like funny. Like, you guys should go and check out the tabletop jocks that we were both on because it was a really silly, pure commander game. It felt real fun. Like you, me, Ron, and Joe, and it was just a good time.
Yeah,
Um,
it was great.
I have a couple of questions because I was like watching this week that I was following your training as you're going up to the match that you won. And you were saying things like, "I need to cut my weight." Like, what does that mean?
Mhm.
How do you like? I get that you have to go up
Yeah.
there and hit a certain weight target in order to fight, right?
Yeah, so I fight at the light heavyweight division, so 205 pounds. So
Do you have to be
36,
exactly that?
I have a pound allowance. So I
Mm,
weighed in at 205 and a half. So 36 hours before the fight, I weigh in and I have to weigh 205, but I walk around at 240 pounds. So I had to cut weight that I
how do
weigh
you
in.
lose 35 pounds?
So it's a little bit of a diet, cutting a little bit of fat, but then it's all water. The last 20-25 pounds is all water.
Oh my
And
god.
so I cut out the last like 3 or 4 days before that, when I have 20 to 25 pounds left,
Mhm.
I cut out all the sodium and carbohydrates from my diet and I drink 2 to 3 gallons of water a day. So
Jesus.
that's 24 pounds of water that my body flushes out itself. And then 24 hours before I get on the scale, I stop drinking water.
What?
Then I flush out and
You have to
sweat
like
out.
fast, basically?
Yeah, so I'll still eat because food doesn't weigh that much, but I'm not drinking liquids.
Weird.
And so yeah, I suck down like if you see in the photo, I'm all shredded, I'm all
Yeah,
ripped, but
totally, totally weird.
I don't look like that when I get in the cage in 24 hours because I get on that scale and I weigh in, I jump off and I drink a bunch of like electrolytes and
Sure.
I go back up to 225 in 2 hours.
That's insane. I didn't realize that you could regulate your body that specifically, like, on I
So
guess.
the big thing is that I have over 24 hours to rehydrate. That's the big
Hmm.
thing. Like
So it's
wrestling,
basically
like
like squeezing all the water out of a thing and then immediately
yeah, yeah. So like high school wrestling and stuff, you weigh in the same day as the tournament. So you can't really do this method. Like
yeah.
this is something that's very specific to MMA and boxing.
So basically, you're like trying to get enough to be legal, and then the second they're weighed out, you can suddenly eat and drink everything you need to get back up to being mega buff again or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to get all the liquid out of my body because I don't need it. I can put that back. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to lose like fat or glycogen or muscle. It's just all the liquid. Your body's what 75% liquid, right?
yeah,
So I have you know 180 pounds of liquid that I can cut, and I'm just
man.
trying to get 20 of it out.
And so, like, yeah, you must have like specific dietitians and stuff that give you like this is what you're allowed to eat leading up to your fight and stuff like that, right?
So I do. I pay for the dietitian the best in the world. There are guys out there that just do it cowboy style and just try not they don't eat for 3 days or they miss weight or they mess up. But I specifically use a dietitian. I follow a very regimented plan.
Yeah, some of us just need to have rules. Like, I just need to
Yeah.
have somebody tell me what to do, and then we can deal with that. Um, wow, that's wild. But you won your fight though, because I saw the picture of you standing up there with your hands up. It looked super sick. Um, like, I've watched like old videos of you fighting because I was like, I should at least see what this guy does. It looks hella cool. I'm like, wow, that's so sick. I want to see a fight live one day. I think that would be really fun to do. But it'd be weird with that cage in the way.
Yeah.
Uh, tell your bosses to take the cage down so we can see you do this. Um, so what you like used to be heavier, right? Like you fought in the heavyweight division. Why did you drop down?
So I did all of my pro fights at the beginning of my career were light heavyweight.
Mm,
That's just my natural body weight is 230 to 240, so I can make the light heavyweight. For the TV show, it was a heavyweight season.
mm.
So I just kind of had this opportunity to be on the TV show, but have to fight heavier than I wanted to. And yeah, so that's I just took the opportunity,
Hey man,
and obviously it went well. You know, had
yeah,
success and got did well on the show, made it all the way through the show, and then got into the UFC and didn't have to cut weight for a year. So it was almost, as long as if I would have won the finals, it would have been all good, but I didn't, so it was almost all good.
Yeah, well, it's fine. It's good enough. You still made it into the UFC, so it's not like it didn't work in the end. But I mean, if the opportunity comes in front of you, you take it no matter what it is, right? Like these sort of things don't
Exactly.
come back. So
Especially in this business, in this type of business, like I said before, I can't work an office job. I can't do that. So when the phone rings, I pick up. I say, all right, I'll be there.
okay, so I gotta ask you, I saw your deck. You got some bling in there, man. Like, have you been using your prize fights to buy yourself some beta? Is that what's going on here?
So I'm lucky that I've been playing for a long time and I've never sold a card. Like
Yes.
I to this day I couldn't even tell you how you sell cards.
I have sold I've played for like 30 years. I've sold like maybe a dozen cards in my life. And every time I
uh,
regret it and I'm just like, why did I do that? It was in my collect,
yeah.
but it's like, gotta be disciplined, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I've never sold a card. I've been playing for a while, but I do when I win fights. My little treat to myself is always some magic. I just bought after this one. I bought the Sword of Fire and Ice from Kaladesh Inventions.
Ooh,
That's
nice.
my favorite magic art in probably the history of the game. So after this one, after my first UFC victory, I had to pick that one up.
Yeah, I have I'm 10 inventions off from having a full set of those. So
Oh,
I totally
nice,
like what I did with when Magic came back, I went and I bought invention soul ring and an invention monocrypt just to be
nice.
like, yeah, we're back, baby. Um so I completely understand. But it's funny cuz when you've been playing for a long time and you just got dual ends and stuff that you've had since you were a kid and people are like, "Oh my god, look at you, Mr. Moneybags." I'm like, "Look,
I know.
this cost me $4 in
Yeah,
1993. I just
yeah.
hung on to it."
Exactly. I had a play set of Wheel of Fortunes when I was 8, and I think I literally bought them for $2 a piece,
Right?
and it was like no, it was no big deal back then, and they
Yeah.
stayed in a shoebox in my basement until 2020 when my buddy called me.
Yeah, it turns out, the trade-off is we're just old now. That's the
Yeah, true.
problem. Man, that's so cool. So, are you planning on building any new decks?
I just built Slicer. I just built
Oh,
Slicer.
Slicer is nutty. I saw
So
that. Go ahead.
I thought he was sweet and awesome, and I really loved him. And then he like top 16 or top 8
Oh,
like
yeah.
a CDH tournament, and I was like, oh, now everyone's gonna be building Slicer and thinking I'm all sweaty for building Slicer. I was building a Karn the Betrayer deck from the Warhammer Precon,
Mhm.
and then Slicer came out, and I was like, this
This
is
is just
just
better.
he's just way better Karn because half the Karn deck is goading him so that he can't attack you, and
Yeah,
then Slicer goads himself when he
right?
goes. So I was like, oh, Slicer's going right into this deck. But yeah, now he's like this hot like CDH
Yeah,
card.
because I was at that tournament, the Silicon Valley,
Uh,
Silicon whatever they called it, and I saw a table where they were just passing Slicer around and just killed a player in like a turn, and I'm like,
yeah,
"Holy crap, this is never gonna happen in a casual game because people are not nobody's going to focus fire like that." But in CDH, this thing is stupid. This card is
yeah.
dumb.
So yeah, I had Jeweled Lotus in the deck, but I'm taking it out because turn one Slicer means that we actually don't get to play. Like that's
Yeah.
what it's like. Turn one Slicer means what? So one person's out turn 2, and
Yeah,
then another
right?
person's out turn 3.
Exactly. If you're playing in a tournament, go for it. That's the
Yeah,
point. You want to win. But if we're playing at home for fun, it's like, yeah, that's not very fun. That's
yeah,
just like, great, you did it. Now what? Like, okay, we'll shuffle up and let you do it again.
yeah. I know exactly.
I just built a Minskin Boo deck because
Oh, nice.
that card is stupid. It draws you a ton of cards, and the last game I played at Philly, I threw a 37-37 hamster at somebody, and then drew 37 cards off of that thing. It's dumb.
I love that it's just a giant hamster.
Yeah, just
That's
like just getting
the
lobbing at people, and because there was this card that came out in the Warhammer deck, called the Red Terror, which is every time you
mm-hmm.
do damage with thing, you put a counter on it. And there was a card that came out in All Will Be One called All Will Be One, where every time you do damage or every time you put a counter on something, you do that much damage to any target. So these two cards
Yeah.
basically just feed each other, and the deck is full of +1/+1 counters, so everything is just getting countered all over the place. So it's easy to just machine gun people. It's maybe the most Brian Kibler deck I've ever built. It's super ridiculous.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, it's hella fun. I mean, it's so cool to go and see weird decks that people come up with, and you're like, I didn't even think that you could use these cards together like that, but that's rad.
That's actually my favorite thing about Commander is when you roll up and someone's playing a card you've never heard of, and
Right?
you're like, well, I don't know what makes this good, but I guess we'll find out. And then and then a 37/37 hamster comes at your face, and you're like, oh, this card's really good.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing against my friend David who had a Evelyn deck. Evelyn is like a Grixis lady from New
Mm-hmm.
Capenna, where anytime you play a vampire, she takes the top cards off of everybody else's deck and then you can cast it. And it's nutty because he would just like, all my deck is just one drop vampires and just to mill everything off of your decks and just start playing crazy stuff. I'm like, this is the most absurd deck I've seen because he's just at the middle of the table, got like 60 cards he can draw from because he's just playing a bunch of one drops. And it's like, that's very clever. And
That's
I
pretty
hate
cool.
this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Commander is so much fun. It's so much fun. Um, what is your favorite way to play Magic? Like, what's your favorite style of Magic? I guess. Like we were talking about stacks earlier, but what do you like to do?
Uh-huh. So I have two. I have two that I love to do. The first one's not very casual, but I love Storm. I love Storm. I love Storm and just like sitting there at the beginning of the tournament, like, I don't know if we're gonna get there, but here we go, and then just
Time
playing
to
card,
count.
card, 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 card. Oh, didn't get there. Sorry, I guess I lose. Like, I love
Whiffing on
Storm.
Storm. Whiffing with Storm is the worst feeling though, because you're just like, I just spent 38 cards and
Yeah,
did nothing.
I know. I'm trying to master like a casual Storm because right like I am aware that people don't want to watch you play solitaire and then win the game. Like,
Mm.
so I don't get to play a whole lot of my Storm decks very often, but that is what I actually love to do. And then I really like equipment decks. So like
Mm.
Slicer, Kelsey,
Yeah.
I've got a few other ones, but that's from when I was a kid. Like, I loved this idea of I'm just gonna put all these swords and hammers on my big guy, and he's just running
Yes.
at you. So
I love playing with
that's what I.
Voltron equipment. Like that is so much fun. Either Voltron auras or Voltron equipment, just like give him all the stuff, and then this guy just running around and he's got bows and arrows and swords and everything. So at Philly, Gavin Verhey ran an event which was called the Unknown event, where you basically you got to build a sealed deck out of random cards they gave you, and then they made a packet of 10 cards out of a pool of 60 that he had made specifically for this event. They were hand stickered and pasted onto these cards. And so one of them was called Sword of Blank and Blank. And what it is when you play it, you randomly pick the first name of any of the swords and the second name of any of the swords
Oh,
and put them together. So you get Sword of Fire and Famine or whatever it is.
yeah.
And you get the abilities of the two halves of the swords, none of the
Uh-huh.
protection or anything. But that meant that every game I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, let's roll the dice and see what random swords I get because it's awesome. And
That's amazing.
it's so much fun because it's like these swords are really weird abilities. So when you put
Mhm.
them together in weird ways, it just ends up being bizarre sometimes. Like Sword of Fire and Shadow. And it's like, what does that
Yeah.
do? I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's fun.
Yeah,
Like,
so the sword cycle is just my favorite cycle in Magic,
yes,
and like I said, it comes from just being young and just imagining this dude with all
right?
these different swords, and
Right?
each one protects him from all the different colors. Like, that's that is
Yes.
my favorite thing. I have all the swords in just their standard, like
Mhm.
regular art forms, and now at each fight I win, I'm going to get a Kaladesh Inventions one.
My personal favorite is Feast and Famine, which has a cool black sword with the vines growing across it.
Yeah,
It looks so sick. And
yeah.
also, it's my favorite sword ever. Like, untap all my lands. Yes, let's
It's
go.
It's definitely the best one. My favorite art is the inventions for Fire and Ice because it's like this mecha robot
Yeah,
entire
right?
like a glove that you
It looks like a
slide your
gauntlet
arm
thing,
in.
right?
Yeah,
It's so I mean, all of the Kaladesh swords, I hope I really want them to put the new 5 that they made into the Kaladesh frame, put it like Secret
Oh,
Lair or whatever. That would be
yeah.
so sick.
I wish that if Watsy, if you want, to sell at least one secret lair, every equipment you make, if you make it at Kaladesh Inventions, I'll buy them. I'll buy it.
Oh my god. Did you see that they're gonna make a promo of Ragavan in the Kaladesh Invention frame?
I did. I
I'm
did see that.
oh my god, I'm gonna give them so much money for
Yeah.
that stupid thing. Um, yeah, man. Wow, this has been awesome. Like, it was super fun to play with you, by the way. Like, your decks are really cool, and I hope we get a chance to jam games sometime. Because do you play on Spell Table or anything, or is it just in paper?
I'm trying to figure out Spell Table. I don't have. You need like a top down camera, or you
You
can use
just
your
need a
phone or
camera you can
something.
point down at the ground. And
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I'm trying to figure it out because I want to play more Commander. It was great meeting all you guys. So like Joe kind of just hit me up
yeah. How
randomly. I
did
don't
Joe
even.
find you? Like,
So I went on the show, on the reality show, and me and another fighter on there play Magic, Bobby Maximus.
during the
And
show?
not during the show, but we each play and we talk, and we're like, you play Magic, and we talk about it, and then so it like somehow trickled down to Joe, and he just hit me up and was like, dude, you want to come play? I was like, absolutely, I'd love to. And so now I've been exposed. I didn't even know like about Spelltale, so now I've been exposed to this world that people are playing Commander every single night. I
Oh yeah,
usually I get to play once a month.
right?
With my old friends. So I'm trying to get Spelltable going. That's my goal.
Yeah, I mean, if you need help, just hit me up afterwards. We can talk about it, and I can get you onto. I can hook you up with an entire network of people who will be happy to play with you all the time. It would be super fun because like playing on Spell Table is not the same as paper, but it's so close. And
Yeah,
it's just like getting to play Commander at all. It's hard. We're parents. We have like real
yeah,
lives and jobs and stuff. But you can jam a Spell Table game a lot easier than trying to get 4 people to come to your house. It's a lot.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's super sweet. So if people wanted to find you or check out your fights or check out your Twitter or whatever, where could they go?
So yeah, it's Zac Pauga, ZACPAUGA on everything, Twitter,
Yeah,
Instagram. You know, all my content. I love Magic. I have no interest. I'm not trying to become a Magic influencer or content
sure.
creator, but all my content is based around my life and fighting. But I'm down to talk about it if anyone wants to talk about it. But if you look at my pages, you're going to see fighting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're a fighter, so obviously you're
Yeah.
going to be talking about fighting things. That's why it's funny because like I follow you on my Magic account, and every now and then like wrestling shit will show up on the thing. I'm like, oh, Zach is posting. Okay, let's go. Uh, sweet man. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was really cool to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. As always, my friends, you can catch me at Gearapuri Gears. You can catch this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold or at Cool Stuff Inc. on Tuesdays and now simultaneously on YouTube on Tuesdays. Thank you to my editor, EK. And remember, my friends, it is not magic without the gathering, and we will see you next time.